you doing with your background? I'd be remiss not to think you were on Yanu, though you did end up going when the Yanu person was supposed to go. So there you
Don't get
go.
it twisted. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, no, this is my office, so it's a little bit chill. I'm okay though. I'm much better. I'm healed. I can wave bye with both hands as the boat is leaving. It is. I'm in a good place. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm excited to get into it because, for lack of a better term, I think we're all trying to wrap our hand around what exactly happened here. So I'm curious. When you see Jeff and Dr. Will walk up on the beach when like you and Venus and Liz are chatting, was this something you saw coming? Because like you had talked with him earlier on in the day. Did you foresee, given the state of your arm, like there's a chance that could get pulled here?
You are 100% right. So I'm very observant. I started to realize that there was no way. So when I came out of the challenge, they give you tests. You get a quick medical test, and I had excruciating pain. You don't see it. You'll see it in the. If you watch the scene again, I'm not moving my head much, and it's
Hmm.
because when I moved my head like that in the game, it was hurting behind my neck, like this big swelling. And when Dr. Will pressed it at one of the challenges, one of the medical staff, I knew with my arm that this was going to take longer to heal than I had. Even though we were winning, even though I sat out once, I had a beware advantage. I felt like we had a like a down day. I felt like we were gonna. I was in good space, but I knew immediately. I crossed the dots, and you could see like people looking at you. You could see things that are happening in the overall aspect of the game that just gave me a sense of okay, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to make it, and I kind of had this thing in my head where I was like, Randon, don't flip out, because I was so angry because I
Hmm.
started to add, you connect dots.
Yeah.
I'm very observant. So yes, I did feel like something was coming. I was hoping it didn't, but I had in my head that they're not going to allow me to continue like this.
So that being said, I mean, something that I think people are kind of parsing through last night was the whole beware advantage. And Jeff has made explicitly clear in the past 12 hours, it could technically have been passed, but really it's that when Dr. Will says we have to play from the game, it's essentially his version of the tribe has spoken, that like nothing can get passed after that. So if you thought this was some sort of inevitability, did it cross your mind at all since then? Like, okay, if I'm getting pulled anytime in the near future, I should hand something off to Venus?
Yeah, so this is a very, very interesting situation. So I had it in my mind to give it to her. I did not, this has never been, when I was asking about it, it's never been kind of done before.
Mm,
So I was kind of like, okay, I have to physically give it to her. You know what I mean? That's what it was in my head. Nobody told me, hey, you have until Dr. Will,
right.
I mean, I've never seen Survivor where that's been done. So I've never seen that instance exactly. So my idea was that I was going to hand it to her. So what you don't see is like throughout the whole time, I'm trying to get to my blazer because it's in my blazer. And I'm like,
Mm,
I need to get to my blazer. I need to get to my blazer. And because of all of the commotion with Jeff and everything to that nature, I could not do it. And she's not allowed, I believe, to get it herself, right? She can
mm,
look, but she can't pull it out and be like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
So in my head, I'm like, okay, V, this is how we're gonna rock it. I'm gonna go get it and I'm gonna give it to you slick. Because if I gave it to her in front of everybody, they're gonna target her immediately. Her game is done, toasted. And if
mm.
they get to merge, it's just over. So that was the idea, but for some strange reason in the universe, I could not get to my blazer, my amazing blazer, and yeah, that's all she wrote, unfortunately.
So when it came to you leaving the game, I mean, we see you to your point waving in your final words. What was that process like? Was that taking, hours after the MRI? Talk to me about the timeline once you actually left the island.
Yeah, when I was leaving the island, it's really hard, especially looking back at them because I felt like I would have made merge. I felt like I would have done a lot in that game. It was pretty devastating. I was really angry with myself, to be honest with you. When I left the game, they were trying to convince me to kind of like deplug from game
Mhm.
because they were like, dude, you have a serious like situation going on. And I'm like, no, I would have made the merge. I would have made the merge. Like I'm like, I mean, it's like it's hard, you know what I mean, to leave because that could be your only opportunity. And you're watching the island get smaller, and then everybody's hands are getting smaller, and you're like, what is going on? They take me to the medical, and it's very scary. They take me to the island. And I immediately get rushed into an emergency MRI. They tell me that they have a helicopter on standby to fly me to Australia. for emergency surgery. If I get on the helicopter, my wife is going to be called. I mean, I'm like sitting there and I'm like, and you have to understand, like in my head right now, I'm like, but I would have made the merge. Like,
Mm.
and they just had to tell me, like, you got to stop. Like, you got to talk about, what's going on. So, but when I sat in the MRI for hours, that's when I started to hit me. Like, okay, this is a problem. I had to, it's like decompression. I was in one of those inside those enclosed MRIs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's when I had the time to reflect on my life and say, okay, whoa, like this is a serious. And there was a bunch of neurologists on a conference call, and that was pretty scary. When you see neurologists from Australia and everybody on, and it was like, that's when it hit me.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
pretty
So
scary.
so then how long since then? Like, what was the treatment process like from that time that you're sitting in like the tube of fright to you being able to wave to the camera and say, I'm fine, however many times later?
After they cleared me from that and I found that I didn't have to get on the helicopter, they immediately started like therapy and anti-inflammatories,
Mm.
because they felt like the swelling was right near the disc, but not pressing on it enough to where they need surgery. Had it, so I immediately started anti-inflammatories and then I started therapy for my arm. They gave me all kind of, they were monitoring, and shout out to Survivor and CBS and everybody for, I mean, the best treatment I've ever had. I mean, I have really good treatment with the military and my corporate, but this was like next level. They wanted to make sure I was good because that was one of my biggest issues, is getting poisoned or paralysis. Cause I know I'm hard headed. I was going, I know I'm going to I'm going to take risks. I mean, I took a
Mm.
beware advance take, right? I was going to take every risk possible. But yeah, it was really hard. It took me, I would say, weeks to originally get my arm to start getting like a lot of good feeling. I can wave and move it, but I couldn't like grip a can or something like that. And then
Uh-huh.
my neck, my swelling started to go away, I would say in about a couple of weeks with the anti-inflammatories.
Interesting. So, listen, I'm gonna, as much as they said deplug from the game, I'm gonna plug you right back in to get this random machine going again. Because let's talk a little bit about what was happening. I'm sure despite not going to tribal council, there was a lot going on, and I'm
Whew.
intrigued because when we talked out there, you
Yeah.
were one of the most like upfront cast members in this entire season about like saying, I don't know how I'm gonna do. I'm somebody who cannot be presented as that warm milk and cookies type of person. How much did that
Facts.
measure up to actual delivery for you from your expectations? Was it as hard initially as you thought it would be?
Oh, that's a good one. So I think that the initial reaction was not what I thought, right? It was a
Mm.
little bit different. Here's the reason why, because I had good reads on people, right? But there were some situations where I could not get in. Like for instance, I immediately understood that, and I think everybody saw if you watched it, that Tevin and Hunter had an immediate bond. I could not get into that bond, right? I tried, and there was no confirmation of that. Liz was kind of along, at that point, just kind of along for the ride. So I had initially, when I presented myself and we were trying to have this social bonding session in the beginning, right? Not knowing each other, people automatically clicked. And I
Mm.
noticed that Venus and I rather did not click with everybody else as much. It's like an observation, and I'm like, Liz is kind of like, chilling out and doing her rich, in life of the rich and famous thing. And, and I'm like, we're not clicking. I'm like, we're not in the crowd. And that's what clicked in my head, that I need to start changing my game immediately. Or I need to start adapting very quickly because people are starting to click up and we were kind of like background at that point. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
they're social players. Soda and Tevin are hyper social players. So for me, I'm like a mid social player, I think. Like I'm like I can get there, but it has to have a catalyst, you know? And so that's what I would say, that the first impressions of getting there, I immediately felt like I had to change up what my perceived kind of gameplay was with you based on what I was seeing with the hypersocial gameplay with my teammates.
So yeah, you talk about you and Soda sort of being looked at as on the out. So the first moment we really see of the two of you, though, is maybe you more so saying, if you can't join them, beat them, and being like, look at what Venus is doing, Parvati Light. Was that sort of your intention, or was it just more so, to your point, observing what she was doing and just trying to get something out there to someone?
So yeah, what people don't understand is, like, I just want to be clear too. Like the Parvati Light comment was not anything superficial. It was a test for Soda. So
Mm.
Soda was selling like trust real estate to everybody, and like I love Soda. Soda reminds me of literally like my sister. Like she's a very infectious person. Yeah, she has like a gravity. But I wanted to bond with Soda first, but she was so like a butter. She was so aggressive with trying to make sure she was spread out, obviously to her advantage. I didn't feel like she was being genuine. So I set up a troll for the only person on Canada that admitted they're from Canada. And I was like, I know she likes this person. I just connected some dots, and I'm going to set up an easy troll to test Soda to see if she can, pass a light troll, like a good test. And it worked. I told her Parvati light. And I said it's because of her game. Because the first day we get there, Venus shot out. I mean, I don't even think I said my last name to her, and she was gone. She was like in the woods searching. I mean, the most aggressive first day one I have ever seen. So I was like, girl, what's going on? I was like, what's going on right now? Like, wait, my name's Randen. Hello? And in the bushes, flipping rocks. I'm like, okay. So I was like, hey, Soda, gotta watch her. I know you're trying to be cool with everybody. So I was like, let me see who I can trust real quick. Parvati Light. Boom, comes right back around to me. And I immediately knew I could not trust Soda from that point. So from that point on in the game, you'll notice I don't ever vote with, well, you never see me vote, but I don't agree with Soda on anything. And I will always, I had that stance throughout the rest of it.
Another thing that I saw you clock, this was in a secret scene, but when Tevin comes back from the journey and he puts forward this whole thing of, I don't know if I lost my vote or not, you clock him in that confessional. You call him the Pied Piper of Nami. I would love to know your thoughts on him, because we see Venus sort of espouse them a bit, but it seems to be sort of an assessment of Tevin that not a lot of people were making in that moment.
Yes, yes, yes. So I knew Tevin had to be like an actor or something like that. So I love Tevin, by the way. He has like the biggest, like I just, it's hard not to like Tevin, and that's his biggest weapon,
Hmm.
right? So when he came back, I feel like Tevin sometimes overplays like a monologue, kind of like he has this beautiful acting talent, I feel. And when he came back, I saw him kind of like being a little bit over dramatic when it comes down to the way he was explaining things. And I just did not feel like I've talked to him a lot in that game. Like I've seen his behaviors, and I just felt like he was not being genuine at that point. I got a gut feeling, and I read it immediately. And the way he said the end part to me, I was like, I gave a Tevin look. I was like, I was like, some ain't right with this story real quick. And actually I approached him about it. I'm like, I know you have your extra vote. Like you're not gonna convince me you're not. I did. You know what I mean? I actually did approach him about that. And I love Tevin. There was nothing against him, but I just felt like he wasn't genuine. I felt like he should be. He has no chance of being voted out. You have
So
no.
let's say inevitably the winning streak gets cut short. Hunter can't pull out any more miracles. Nami loses. You're still in the game. You do what Tiffany does and like scramble your ass off to get the idol, get your vote back. What did you sort of idealize would be that first Nami vote? Because you had already envisioned yourself making the merge. I would imagine you were already planning out what to do with that first vote.
That would have been the most insane, and I wish we would have went, to be honest with you, because the lines were so blurry. But I think the
Mhm.
reality of the situation was that my alliance with Venus would be really hard. Yeah, I would have walked into there trying to maintain that alliance, but I think it would be impossible if Liz would have agreed with Tevin and Hunter to vote against Venus, because that's what it was. I mean, it was gonna go. It was gonna go either to Venus or probably, I think either it's hard to kind of determine that, but I think he was either going to be Liz or Venus at that point. It was really, really hard. But I wanted Soda. I
Mm.
specifically wanted Soda because she failed my trust test, and I
Mhm.
was working on that. And I think I got to Tevin before on up to where you see that there's a lot of stuff that happens in the background. But I immediately told Tevin, you have to go Soda, because I told Venus I will work on Tevin to flip him to Soda, and I need you to keep Soda in check to stop saying my name. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because to me, and then Venus, has this thing where she wanted to do a like a, like a woman's, she mentioned this sometime, like a woman's alliance or something like that. And I was like, no, no, we got to prevent that. And by all means. So I was like, we're going to go Soda. And that keeps everybody in check. That keeps our alliance relevant. And that keeps me good graces with the Hunter Tevin, thing going on. So that I think it would have went, I think it would have been really chaotic. I would have had to vote with the numbers, even if I would have tried to save Venus, but it
Mhm.
would have really depend on for me reading how all of us were going to vote at that time. I would need to really see Soda. If they were going to vote Soda, then I would not play an idol at that point for myself at all, because I don't feel like I was going to be voted out at all. I
Mhm.
think it was going to be I think it was going to be Soda or
Mhm.
Venus.
Last thing I want to ask is, of course, one of the bigger points that I think has made a splash in the interview we did was the fact that your family was already planning this first out party.
Yes.
When you come home and you sort of let them know everything that happened with you, what was their reaction? Because I'm sure they're like, "Aha, you got voted out early, just like we thought." And you're like, Not quite."
Yeah, yeah, no, and here's the thing about that. It was really bittersweet because when I came back and I said, they were like, "Well, when did you get voted out?" I'm like, "I didn't get voted out." They're like, "Well, are you going where's the direct deposit?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's not exactly happening." That's not exactly happening either. So they're like, "We're confused. Like, you're gonna have to kind of explain." I was like, I was medevaced out. And they were like, "What?" No, I was like, I seriously was medevaced out. And they're like, "You jump on a plane, scuba dive, do marathon, you medevaced?" And I was like, yes. So it was bittersweet. They were more concerned about my health at that point. But my daughter was really proud of me. So I was super happy about that. People don't understand. Like, my family is very competitive, but they're also hyper supportive.
Mm.
So when I came back, it was love, it was appreciation. They felt like I was being a bit hard on them for saying, that they were supporting the party so hard in the beginning. But it is true. I mean, it was fun. It was good banter, and I came back to loving arms and great concern. I'm super proud of them, and they're proud of me. And last night was rough. I ain't gonna lie. Seeing Daddy cry and all that, that's not me at all. But it's humble pie.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you had the ability to wrap both arms around your family as well. I'm so glad that you were able to make that recovery. And look, obviously less than ideal circumstances to go out of the game with, but I'm so happy that I got the chance to talk with you not only out there but today as well. This was such a great time as always talking with you, man.
Thank you. Likewise.
All
Always a
right, well,
pleasure.
all the best to you and the family, and looking forward to what happens next with you, Ray. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.